I don't know if you guys have heard of this game, but the name Dark and Darker is kind of an intriguing name all on its own. Basically, it's a free-to-play PvPvE extraction dungeon crawler. Now, I know some of you are probably like, Cross, did you just say extraction? I'm already out. Fellas, this is not your normal extraction game. Hell, just look at the gameplay. You come in, you pick your favorite class, you team up with some buddies or ride solo, you then go dungeon diving for tons of loot, and essentially, you're hoping to make it out alive with all your spoils. Maybe you've known of this game, but just haven't gotten around to trying it out, or perhaps this is your first time hearing about Dark and Darker. Either way, we have had the pleasure of finally jumping into it this week, learning the ropes and seeing what this game is all about. And after a handful of hours spread across the team, we figured we'd throw together a beginner's guide to help new or interested players learn the basics of how the game works. I feel like to my Destiny community, when we say, hey, this is an extraction game, we completely lose people, and I get it. But this is not your normal extraction game. And as we spend more and more time with it, I found myself falling in love with what Dark and Darker was presenting to us. It truly is a style that I have never come across with any other game. But jumping into this game can be a bit overwhelming. And to alleviate that, I want to talk about what you can expect in your early hours of playing Dark and Darker. So right off the bat, when you go to create a new character, we definitely recommend starting with a beginner-friendly class. Because there's so much to learn, having a relatively easy class to play with will help you focus and learn the main mechanics of the game, versus trying to learn the main mechanics while also trying to learn a more complicated class. In my opinion, Finders and Rangers are really good to start with, maybe even a Cleric if you want someone with a lot of healing. I main Titan inside of Destiny though, so it made sense for me to just go with Barbarian, which is what we're going to be playing mostly. Now, it's also a great beginner-friendly class that doesn't have too much depth going on. You got two-handed weapons, you smash things, and you got a lot of health, and you shout a bunch, which is good, because you're actually buffing yourself when you shout. Now, once you've chosen a class and gotten to the lobby, the Squire Merchant will appear, and will briefly explain to you what your base gear set is and where to find it. Clicking the merchants at the top, then clicking on the Squire from the list, you'll now see your base gear set. This is basically your starting loadout. You can swap out anything you like with the gear on the left, and then save your base set when you have what you're looking for. Now, gear also comes in various rarities, and the higher the rarity, the more extra bonuses that item has. When it comes to the base gear set though, I only replaced my Barb's boots with a pair that gave me more movement speed. I also moved my healing potions and bandages to my third slot for preferences and added a campfire. Now, campfires are very useful as they allow you to get significant heals for you and your party, so I definitely recommend popping one of those into your starting loadouts. Now, when it comes to stats, I want you to head on over to the class tab. Hover over all the stats on the left side of your screen, read what everything does so that you know what to look out for when inspecting gear that you find. Knowledge is mainly for spells and caster classes, so having those stats on Barbarian doesn't really serve much purpose. Now, for Ranger, you would expect speccing into mostly Dexterity would be the way to go. But inside of Dark and Darker, Dexterity increases your action and equip speed, which actually means you're going to want to still invest in Strength to increase your damage with your weapons. Now, you don't have to scroll through this entire list of class stats. Again, I'm not trying to overwhelm you, but just start becoming a bit more familiar with the main stats so that you know what to look out for. Now, in the class menu, you can also tab over to your perks and your skills, and here you can customize your passive perks and active skills. Now, if you're just starting a new character, you can swap out the default perk with any of the other actions on the right if you like to. You can also swap out your 2 active skills or your magic skills if you have those. So give a good read into what everything does and then just choose what you like. Or just stick with the default stuff, as I myself like to just learn as I go. Now, as you increase your level, you're going to be unlocking more passive perk slots up to level 20, giving you 4 in total. Pretty much everything you do in this game, though, gives you XP for levels, from killing enemies, to escaping dungeons, to opening chests, to extracting loot. So as long as you're playing the game, you're getting XP, which the RuneScape player in me loves. However, I do want to stress that it's much faster if you're escaping with tons of loot. But one thing I do like about Dark and Darker is that you're never in a moment that you're truly stuck. As long as you're getting XP gains, you're making progress. Now, at the main lobby screen, you'll see an exclamation point at the bottom right indicating your quest log. Now, you're going to head here and simply click Accept All. This will give you a ton of side quests for the various merchants in the game. Now, most of them require you to extract and deliver deliver certain items to them or explore a specific dungeon room. And some even have you kill certain enemy types. Now feel free to scroll through each of these, but I wouldn't necessarily hyper-focus on them too much. Again, we want to get into the action. What I will say is that a lot of these you can just complete just by playing the game, but they definitely are worth completing. You get specific loot, you get XP as rewards, and later in the game, when you want to deliver items or complete a quest, you simply just head to the quest log menu or go to the specific merchant that the quest is for inside of the merchant menu. Now, if a merchant has something for you, they'll have a little exclamation mark over them. And merchants in this game offer different services. Some sell gear, there's also crafting, socketing, valuables that you can buy. But I would say most of those services don't come into play until you've made good progress. So not really something you need to be concerned with. Now that you've gotten your class, you've looked over your stats, you've got your perks, your skills, you've accepted your quests, you set up your base gear, it is now time to jump into a dungeon. Here you have 3 choices of dungeon locations to choose from: the Goblin Caves, the Frost Mountain, or the Ruins of Forgotten Castle. Now each of these dungeons have their own unique layout, as well as different enemy types, various bosses, traps, as well as escape routes unique to them. Now, in my opinion, I actually found the Goblin Caves were the easier one to start out with. You'll adjust the settings based on your gear score though, and how many people you're playing with or want to matchmake with. Now, if you're playing by yourself, you just simply select solo. Otherwise, you've got duos and trios. Then select the lower gear score version, since starting out, your gear score will be within the recommended value. Now, once you ready up and load into a match, you'll immediately want to start looting. Now, there are all kinds of chests that you can find. Most don't require a lockpick, so feel free to loot any chest nearby, as well as shatter any vases or pots. And if you're like, dude, this feels like Skyrim, I know. Everything here, though, can contain loot. So break it, take it, and move on. Now, when viewing loot in a chest, you want to check if, number 1, can you equip the item? If it's got a red background, then you can do it. Not saying it's worthless, but something to keep in mind. And number 2, if you can equip it, is it an upgrade to what you already have equipped? Check its stats. You can even compare them to yours to see if that swap is worth it for you. But I will say, just because something is higher rarity doesn't necessarily mean it's better. Now, you can also just keep anything you find in your inventory, but it's going to fill up fast, and you don't want to be caught standing still for too long or taking multiple minutes playing inventory management. Just keep in mind, there are other players in this exact dungeon. They will attack you, and you've got a timer ticking down, which is kind of a neat little mechanic. You've got to escape this dungeon before the timer hits 0, or you die. Healing items are also good to always take with you. If you find them, you'll also come across trinkets. These come in many forms, and these are just good items to sell. Think things like bracelets, these scrolls, goblets, that sort of thing. Now, bringing these back and selling them to the collector merchant will net you gold, which you're gonna need. Now, you can of course just sell gear that you extract and don't want as well. You can also find shelves with valuables on them or tables with gold or weapons laid across them, so keep an eye out as you explore the dungeon. Now, as far as PvE combat goes, the main tip we have is patience. This game's combat can be simple, but not if you're aggroing groups of enemies at a time, which I know is a difficult thing for me to do, but you gotta be somewhat strategic here. Most enemies don't come after you until you've gotten close enough to them. So for instance, if you see a goblin, slowly approach it until they go to attack you. Now, if they're a melee goblin, you can simply walk backwards to dodge their attacks. And for the most part, you can do this with a lot of melee-based enemies. It's all about the timing and being patient. Now, after they attack, you attack and you just keep doing this dance until they're dead. Now, if you find yourself going against a ranged enemy, most of their attacks can be dodged by simply strafing left or right. So essentially here, guys, it's all about dodging enemy attacks, then going in for damage. Now, you also do more damage if you hit the head of the enemies that you're attacking. So trying your best to do that. Now, there are more enemies in the game that have different attack combinations and different attack patterns. And as you play, you'll find them, you'll learn their mechanics. And I definitely suggest it because at some point, just running in and spamming your melee ain't gonna cut it. I mean, maybe it will if you get strong enough, but as you're working your way up, definitely start learning the enemies you're up against. Now, you can also duck certain attacks too. So keep that in mind as you discover more and more enemy types. There's also these like super annoying small spiders that you can come across, and they literally spawn infinitely unless you find the base that they're spawning from and destroy it. Like straight up Minecraft out here. Keep in mind though, you don't have to kill everything in this game. If you find yourself getting dunked on, you could always just, run away. Keep in mind though, if you're seeing small spiders, chances are some bigger ones are nearby. Now, you probably notice fairly early on that enemies in this game hit hard. Like literally 3 good hits from an enemy can kill you depending on your class. So you definitely want to avoid taking damage as much as possible. Of course, if you do take damage, you've got health potions, you've got bandages, and a campfire to get your health back up. But these are limited in supply unless you find more on your run. Now, depending where you slotted your health items, whether that's the 3 or 4 key, you can just match that to cycle through the items that you have in that slot until you get to the item that you want. The same goes for items you have on the other key, like throwables or torches. Now, when it comes to the campfire, you want to put it on the ground, and when it's placed, immediately hit the G key to sit down next to it. This way, you're getting every second out of that campfire because they only last a limited amount of time. Now, I will say campfires are literally the best for groups, as if the whole party needs health, everyone can benefit from that single campfire. Now, another very important tip, if you do happen to come across other players, especially in solo, you can toggle the voice chat on with the period key and ask them if they want to fight. Literally in my solo game, most people didn't want to fight and actually wanted to help or team up to get through the dungeon. So listen to me, guys. You don't have to kill everyone you see. Now, granted, this isn't always the case. You may be asking yourself, Cross, why should I trust this guy? That's the beauty of it. You can't. Maybe you can't even trust yourself. Just know if they do end up getting something pretty juicy, you can always stab them in the back. And the beautiful thing about this game is you can take everything they have. Keep in mind, though, it's a big risk. Different classes have different advantages over others. If you lose and die, say goodbye to your loot. Now, if you don't have a mic, you can also emote or crouch spam, or you can even shake your head. This works pretty good as communication goes. That being said, though, trust is the biggest factor here. Anyone can turn on anyone at any moment, which is kind of the appeal of Dark and Darker. What I was pleasantly surprised about was just how chaotic things could get. When you're in a trio party up against another trio party, and you've got people slinging spells, you got bards playing tunes on the back line, barbarians running in with huge swords, druids shape-shifting into a panther, arrows flying, traps being laid down, people drinking invisible potions, plus all the NPC enemies around. Fellas, there's a lot happening. I'm gonna be honest, I have no tips on how to get through this. Just hope you survive. It's war! But what I will say is that the more you play, especially with your friends, and as you start to dabble with different classes, you'll see what's good, what's not, what's the meta, and eventually you'll start to be able to learn to sync up different strategies and abilities, which will give you that edge in those group battles. Now, if one of your party members do end up dying, they'll stay dead unless resurrected via a resurrection altar. Now, when a player dies, you can loot their heart from their chest slots, which is present under their chest armor. No, we're not going to eat it. Instead, you're going to interact with an altar of sacrifice. And this is normally found somewhere within the dungeon, but with their heart equipped in your utility slot, this will then bring them back to life. Now, back to exploring the dungeon itself. There is a ton of stuff to find in each dungeon besides players, enemies, and chests. You've got mimic chests to look out for, secret levers that open up various loot rooms, shrines that give certain buffs or even restore your health. You've got bosses and a ton more. As you explore, loot chests, defeat enemies, and progress through the dungeon, you'll slowly uncover the map, which you can view by pressing M. The map will show you the dungeon layouts, escape routes, and even stairs downward if you've gotten close enough to them to have them appear on your map. Now, as of the time I'm making this video, only the Goblin Caves and Forgotten Castle have procedurally generated dungeons. So the map changes every time, and it has a fog of war to uncover every time, which is really cool. Every time you go into this, it's something new. Now, the Frozen Cavern is the only location that has a set map, though, where you don't have to go in and uncover, so you can see immediately where the escape routes are as soon as you load into the dungeon. So if you're struggling to find escape routes early on, you can actually try out the Frozen Cavern, though in our experience, we found it actually harder to survive due to the tougher enemies here. Now, escape routes are always blue icons on the map, but these can appear as different icons. For instance, the blue portal has 3 accessible portals at its escape that you can open up. Blue stairs indicate escape stairs. There's also a rope escape, a wheel that you can turn to lower, a drawbridge. It really just depends on what dungeon that you're in, which ties into the escape routes that you're gonna find. Now, the red stairs on the map indicates a lower dungeon floor that you can go to. Lower floors are more challenging, but they offer better loot, and you'll get an increase in your time to escape if you go down a floor. Now, both times we went down a floor, they were littered with traps, so keep that in mind, guys. Definitely want to send your friends down first. Now, this brings us to another very important beginner tip. Watch out for traps. Just like the name of the game, this game is dark, visibly dark. It is hard to see in some places, and chances are, if you can't see the floor in front of you, there's a spike trap literally waiting there for you. You've got a couple torches, so use them if you can't see, because we've had more than a couple runs in thanks to spike traps that were hidden in the darkness. So what is the gameplay loop? Essentially, guys, you get into the dungeon, you loot stuff, you equip stuff, you hold on to valuables or things you want to keep or sell, you kill enemies, you loot them too, all while keeping an eye out for other players and exits. Sometimes matches last only a couple minutes. Maybe you find something dope or a lot of healing items and you locate an escape route right off the bat. In that case, get out of there. Take your small wins when you can because they all add up. But once you successfully escaped, you'll likely have gone up a couple levels, and you can check in to see if you unlocked a new perk slot. You can check your quest log to see if you completed any quests. Then you can head to the stash tab where you can sort out your inventory. You can also store stuff that you want to keep in your stash and then sell anything you don't want to the merchants. Now, armor and weapons can be sold to most of the merchants, and trinkets and valuables can be sold to the collector. Gold coins do only stack up to 10 though, so you want to use some gold to purchase small coin pouches at the treasury. Now you throw these into your stash, and any gold you get from selling will immediately go to these pouches until they fill up at 50 gold each. Now, if you equipped any new gear from the dungeon, you'll see that your gear score will have gone up. We recommend keeping your gear score low, at least when you're starting out. Low enough to still load into the lowest versions of the dungeon, so between like 0 and 24. And you can stash any items that you found for now, but we recommend sticking to the lower gear score dungeons so that you can stockpile gear and learn the game before taking the stuff that you just extracted and potentially losing it all in a much more difficult dungeon. This way you can collect gear that has better stat bonuses for your class, which will allow you to pick from a selection of extracted gear from multiple runs when you do eventually jump into the tougher dungeons. Overall, guys, I've had a blast playing Dark and Darker. It's a trippy game, man, and it's addicting. There's nothing like overly complicated about it, but even the simplest of gameplay loops can hook you and can hook you hard. Dark and Darker is an extraction dungeon crawler that I think players that are not necessarily into extraction games will find themselves enjoying. If you want to join us for some runs on stream, you can check out Dark and Darker. It's free to play, literally on Steam. We pull people to squad up with, and perhaps some of you are veteran players that can give your boy a carry. I'll take it, man. Fellas and ladies, thank you all for coming and watching, and as always,
Slap that like button like your mama told you right.